Ladies and gentlemen, we'll start the stakeout first with some words from General Mood, who's the head of mission for UNSMIS in Syria, and then go to Undersecretary General Mr. Latus.
Good evening. It's been my honor this afternoon to be able to convey to the Security Council my reflections related to the current situation on the ground in Syria and related to the United Nations Supervision Mission in Syria and our activities. I conveyed first and last that the suffering of the Syrian people, the suffering of men, women and children in Syria, some of them trapped by fighting, is getting worse. And it should be at the focus of the efforts of the parties. It should be of the focus of the efforts of this council. It will continue to be the main focus of my mission, to try to dampen that suffering and to bring us in a new direction. I was also able to bring to the council my very high respect for the courage and the commitment of my observers on the ground, working in very difficult circumstances, where violence, including shelling, small arms fire and other incidents are coming much closer, and we have been targeted several times over the last few weeks. This violence to the utmost in itself, but also because it made it very difficult to execute the mandated activities of my mission, led me to the decision a few days ago to halt the activities of UNSMIS. I made that decision based on the risks on the ground and based on the fact that the risks made it extremely difficult to implement mandated tasks. I'm reviewing that on a daily basis, and I remain committed with the mission in the positions we are currently in. We're not going anywhere, to resume, to come back to normal activities and the normal execution, implementation of mandated tasks. Thank you.
Je vais d'abord m'adresser aux francophones ici ce soir. Il doit être clair que le plan en 6 points de Kofi Annan reste le cadre et reste la référence dans laquelle s'inscrit l'action de la communauté internationale. Mais les conditions sur place ont obligé à suspendre les activités de la MISNUS, et ces conditions aggravées par un élément de sécurité extrêmement préoccupant. Ces gens sont très courageux, ils effectuent leur mission dans des conditions extraordinairement difficiles. Pour le moment, tout en suspendant ces activités, nous avons décidé de ne pas toucher à la mission, à son mandat. Leur intégrité demeure, mais en même temps, nous devons être conscients qu'une série d'initiatives diplomatiques se développent, bilatéralement ou multilatéralement. Nous devons être conscients qu'en tout état de cause, le mandat de la mission des observateurs s'achève le 20 juillet, et donc nous devons penser très rapidement à ce que seront les options pour le futur de cette mission. Et c'est à cela que nous travaillons, et c'est là-dessus que j'ai informé les membres du Conseil de sécurité, en sachant bien qu'aucune option n'est retenue, mais que le secrétaire général fera le moment venu des propositions au Conseil de sécurité. Ce qui doit être clair, c'est que la mission des Nations Unies en Syrie, la mission de supervision, sous une forme qui sera déterminée le moment venu, demeurera un outil dans la recherche d'une solution pour mettre un terme aux souffrances du peuple syrien et contribuer à trouver une solution politique. So now I'll follow that in English. I think it must be very clear that the 6-point plan remains the reference for finding a solution to this dramatic Syrian crisis. But as the General said, conditions have imposed it upon us to suspend most activities of the mission And on top of that, there were extremely serious security concerns, and all conjugated into leading to that decision. As you know, for the time being, we have decided, however, not to touch, not to modify, but rather to maintain the integrity of the mission and of its mandate. We must be aware that a number of diplomatic initiatives are underway, bilateral, multilateral. We must be aware also that in any case the mandate of UNSMIS ends at the latest on the 20th of July, so we have to think ahead and to think about various options, and I just gave Security Council the present state of our thoughts on the matter, but knowing that nothing has been chosen, that it will be the Secretary General who will be making proposals to the Security Council in due course for Council to consider. The one thing is that UNSMIS remains an indispensable tool to help the Syrian populations and to help in the identification and eventually the implementation of a political solution.
From CBS News. First to General Mood. There's been attacks for several weeks, but you made a decision to suspend the activities after you entered Al-Hafa. What was it about what you saw in Al-Hafa that led you to that? And could you both, Mr. Latsou as well, answer if there's agreement on the Security Council to extend the mission? Thank you.
What we saw in Al-Hafa was not directly connected to the decision to suspend activities. However, the way we were blocked on our way to Al-Hafa was one of the dramatic incidents in which the observers were directly targeted by crowds of people and weapons objectives that was a real danger to their life. So that incident was one of the incidents that made it necessary for me to review the posture we have on the ground, and based on that also to conclude that it was very challenging to be able to implement the mandated tasks.
On your second question, I would simply say that today was not the day to discuss that. It's just sharing of thoughts, and we shall see in due course, in any case before the 20th of July, what the decision of the Security Council is on that.
We have limited time, so I'll ask you to stick to one question.
What has to happen for the observers to go out again? More support from the Syrian government, or what? Helicopters?
The first indicator that will lead to a discussion to, let's say, resume to more normal activities is a significant reduction in the violence. The second element is the commitment by both the government and the opposition to the safety and security and the freedom of movement of the observers. The government has expressed that very clearly in the last couple of days. I've not seen the same clear statements from the opposition yet. At the local level, I would also look for very clear commitment and practical steps to, let's say, revitalize the local dialogue. In such an environment, it would be meaningful to return to mandated activities at local level, and maybe also with the mission as a whole.
We come down to the end of one. We have time for this, and then just one more.
Thank you.
We have legal time to get to.
Thank you for General Mood. Do you think that the mission can succeed in its current mandate, or this mandate should be enhanced from the Security Council? Thank you.
As you will understand, it's not for me to decide on what are the options for this mission after the mandated period. That's for this council, supported by the Secretariat. I have said already to the council, and I've said it publicly, that I halted the operations with UNSMIS because of the risk level, the violence, and because it is difficult to implement the mandated task in these circumstances. Now that in itself is a message. In other words, we need to see a change if the activities of the mission in the current configuration under the current mandate is going to be meaningful.
One last question, gentlemen, but we have to go to
Mr.
Mechanism,
Lansu,
sorry.
what was, you said that you shared your thoughts with the Security Council on how to proceed. Could you share it with us a little bit?
No, I think it would be premature. I think General Mood gave you a very good indication, though, that although at the beginning of the implementation of its mandate, UNSMIS did achieve some results, and good results at that. But now, in the present circumstances, it is not really doing that anymore. And this is why, one will have to consider either of two situations, one in which the situation will change, that is to say, will improve dramatically from the point of view of violence, and thereby allow the mandate or a mandate to be implemented, or whether one would have to look at other options. But I do not wish to prejudge. As I said, many diplomatic initiatives are at work, contacts are being held, and hopefully conditions will be created one way or the other whereby the 6-point plan can make progress. Because, again, one has to say there is no other plan, no other game in town. There's no plan B. So the 6-point plan of Kofi Annan remains the reference, the framework for a settlement of this dramatic crisis. I thank you.
I'll just make one final remark. With your permission, one final remark. I simply wanted to add that the focus, the purpose of the advice that I'm giving is how can we best serve the aspirations of the Syrian people? How can we help to reduce the violence? How can we help to reduce the suffering? Whatever future for the mission, that is the discussion. The discussion is not the mission in itself as a